Marvel's Iron Fist. The final season of superpowered Netflix action until the Defenders crossover miniseries later this year was highly anticipated by fans of Marvel's street-level heroes. And then it actually came out, and fans discovered that Danny Rand's superpower isn't his Iron Fist at all. Rather, it's the ability to cause intense disappointment and boredom. So, just what really went wrong with Iron Fist? Who is Danny Rand? Each of the other Defenders have well-defined character traits. Matt Murdock struggles with his Catholic guilt while dealing harshly with the scum of the earth. Jessica Jones is an alcoholic survivor of abuse who tries and often fails to make good choices. And Luke Cage carries the injustice and conflict of his past into every situation. And then there's Danny, whose only defined traits seem to be confusion and stupidity. Worse, his motivations are a complete mystery even to himself. Several times during the course of the show, characters ask Danny point blank why he abandoned his role as the protector of the mystical city of Kunlun in order to return to New York. And he never has an answer, because he doesn't seem to know. When even the characters don't know why they're doing stuff, it becomes pretty hard for fans to get invested in the outcome.
Wow. Not sure I can explain.
Poor fight sequences. The total lack of character development could be forgiven to an extent if the fight scenes were awesome. After all, this is Iron Fist. Fight scenes are what Iron Fist does. But instead, despite the fact that the entire show is supposed to be about super kung fu killers with magic powers, the fight sequences are amazingly boring. Not only does Danny almost never actually use the Iron Fist, his fight scenes are consistently subpar. That's not only compared to other Marvel Netflix shows like Daredevil, but even when compared to fight scenes in Iron Fist featuring Colleen Wing, that suggests the problem may lie with star Finn Jones, who doesn't quite have the physical presence to pull off the whole immortal weapon thing. Co-star Jessica Henwick, who plays Colleen Wing, seems much better suited to the show's brief outbursts of action, making her cage fight sequences a rare highlight. Poor plotting and pacing. As underwhelming as the action can be, it would help if there were more of it, or at the very least, if the plot didn't take so long to develop. The show takes absolutely forever to get anywhere. Several episodes are devoted to boardroom strategy sessions at Rand Enterprises, Danny's family's company, instead of the stuff that everyone came to see, mystical kung fu action. Danny's fumbling attempts to prove his identity drag on, boring viewers and making Danny look like kind of an idiot. Meanwhile, most of the screen time isn't devoted to Iron Fist at all, but rather the scheming infighting of the family who took over the business in his absence. The show doesn't seem to know what it is or who it's about. While the show's pace picks up a little after the first several episodes, it never overcomes its plotting problems, leaving questions big and small unanswered and indulging in unearned and often random plot twists. A multi-episode arc that involves Danny and the gang chasing an enemy to China, for example, requires numerous logic leaps and a severe suspension of disbelief to make any sense at all. It's not just a poor story, it's poorly told. Crossover characters. The characters of Jerry Hogarth and Claire Temple from previous Netflix series both have supporting roles, and they immediately class up any scene they're in. But this actually does the show no favors, because Hogarth's steely charisma and Temple's reluctant heroism nicely illustrate the lack of defined character traits for the main cast. They serve as unfortunate reminders of better written shows.
I really didn't realize there was going to be so much emotional honesty.
Right.
And while Claire's tendency to point out the story's plot holes as they crop up injects a dose of humor into a series that takes itself way too seriously, it also highlights the show's shortcomings while making Claire seem like a visitor from a totally different, much better series, which she totally is.
Have you stopped to consider that this idea totally sucks?
It doesn't suck, okay?
Kind of harsh, Claire.
Not really.
Moral confusion. As we're constantly reminded throughout the series, Danny was raised to be the Iron Fist, the immortal weapon. His job is to defend Kunlun from the Hand, the villainous group of ninja assassins who plague Daredevil on his show as well. Despite being trained from childhood to destroy the Hand wherever he finds them, Danny finds himself morally conflicted several times over whether to kill his enemies. That's nice, but it doesn't feel organic to the character at all. It feels like a moral conundrum forced onto Danny by writers confused over how to inject internal drama into a character they don't have a real handle on. The diversity problem. Somewhere in Iron Fist is the potential for an interesting discourse about privilege. That conversation never actually happens on the show, though, and it's too bad because it desperately needs it. Danny comes off as beyond entitled, using his wealth, status, and family name as a bigger weapon than his magic fist, and with even less thought. That in and of itself might not have been an insurmountable problem, given that the most popular character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Tony Stark, is also a rich white jerk.
What did I tell you would happen if you ate the last donut with red, white, and blue sprinkles?
A little foggy on it, but I think it was something like raining down hellfire.
But Stark is self-aware. He knows he's a jerk. That's why we love him.
Can you feel that? We're done here. Move out of the way, I'm gonna run you over. Bye, kid.
Danny Rand, on the other hand, is not self-aware at all. And let's also consider the fact that much of the show's pre-release buzz centered on questions about cultural appropriation and whitewashing, since Marvel decided to cast a white actor in the role of an Asian savior figure. The series needed to address those issues, instead of making them worse. The first big casting misfire. Most fans would agree that Marvel Studios has an unbelievable track record with its casting of major characters. From Robert Downey Jr.'s complete embodiment of Tony Stark to Tom Holland's pitch-perfect Peter Parker, they've been remarkably sure-handed. And the Netflix series have been no exception, until now. Unfortunately, the early skepticism of Jones' casting turned out to be well-warranted. He may be a fine actor, but he was woefully miscast in this role. There's never an on-screen moment that truly feels like the Iron Fist from the comics, except for one very brief scene in which Danny is shown old film footage of a previous, and much cooler, Iron Fist in action. Whoever that dude was, we'd love to have seen more of him, and more of that kind of frenetic butt-kicking action instead of the soggy mess we got. Still, there's reason to hope that the Defenders can right the ship. Showrunners Marco Ramirez and Douglas Petrie called the shots on Daredevil's second season, and there's plenty of opportunity for Danny's character to grow within the dynamic of his team of super buddies. Perhaps we'll see a more disciplined take on the immortal Iron Fist when the 8-episode Defender series makes its way to Netflix. Thanks for watching. Click the looper icon to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Plus, check out all this cool stuff we know you'll love too.